right, everybody, it looks like we are live. Hi, I'm Margie Remmers-Davis, creator of the Fast and Easy Way to QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor certification, and I am delighted to welcome you to this week's live stream. So for those of you who are joining us on the recording later on YouTube, we do a live stream every week inside of our Facebook group, which is the QBO Gym Locker Room. This is where you can get hands-on practice actually doing things in QuickBooks Online. We use the sample company, and I have tons and tons of exercises that you can use totally for free to walk through some of the concepts that we are using. Some of the exercises come from our Fast and Easy certification courses. This week, we're going to start with an exercise that is from your Pro Advisor account. So I've got a couple of good mornings. Yay. So glad to have you. I love it when you guys chime in because, you start a live stream and then you never know who's there. So I'm delighted to have you. Thank you for those of you who are chimed in and said hello. I love it. All right. So also in our Facebook group, I put out a survey every week asking people what they would like me to cover in the live stream. And this week, I don't want to say the overwhelming favorite. It won just by a nose. Actually, it won just by one vote. But I was so glad it did because I've been wanting to cover this for a while. And that is estimates. So we're going to be talking about all things estimates. And as I mentioned, I've really been wanting to take those Pro Advisor challenges that are inside the QuickBooks Online training and talk about and to convert them into our signature Fast and Easy lesson, or Fast and Easy setup for the exercises. And for this one that we're going to talk about today, I actually had to make a change to it because it was not quite right. So thank you, Intuit, for not giving us correct and accurate information. I just got a message from Dana who said, I would like more inventory for end of year preparation. So Dana, if you are inside the Facebook group, make sure that you post that in there and tag Lynn, and Lynn will add it to our list. But that's a really good one. I am just about finished with the 2023 Fast and Easy Advanced course, and there's a whole section in there about inventory. And I was like, dang, this is like really valuable information. How can I get it into the hands of people? So if you've got the advanced course, that's going to be in your hands here shortly, and a lot of inventory information in there. But today we're talking about estimates. So let me go ahead and share my screen, if I can remember how to do that. Okay. All right. So Joel has put in the chat, or Joel will put in the chat, the exercise that we're walking through today. Again, this exercise comes from the Inside Your Pro Advisor account. Let's see, I have another comment. Your zeal is worth emulating. Right on. So here I am. This is the link that Joel just posted, and it will tell you on this bottom tab here, it'll tell you if you want to go in and see the original inside your account, this is where to find it. So you're going to go to Pro Advisor Training, then you're going to select the training library, then you're going to select QuickBooks Online right here. And it's in the Sales and Customers module, Intermediate Skills, Working with Estimates, and Purchase Orders. And this is a topic that's covered on the basic level certification. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to click Exercise, and then we're going to walk through it. So we're going to start in the sample company, and here is the scenario. Your client, Craig, would like to send an estimate for 2 fountain pumps, $15 each, to Gita Kalapatapu. Create the estimate, then invoice the customer. Okay, so step 1 is to create the estimate. And we're going to, from the left navigation bar, select sales and then click sales and then select all sales. So here I am in my sample company. I'm clicking sales and then here's all sales. There are, by the way, two ways to create an estimate. This exercise that we're going through first, this is the one that's in the Pro Advisor Challenge, as I mentioned. And then when we do the one that's from our certification course, we're going to do the other method. So you'll be able to see both. All right, I don't know why that is not showing the full thing on the screen, but there we go. All right, so here we are inside the Sales Center on all tabs. I'm going to click New Transaction and select Estimate. Let me go back to my exercise because I have a tendency to get ahead of myself. So we're going to click the New Transaction button and select Estimate. All right, so number 3, we're going to complete the estimate using the information from the scenario. Then we're going to click Save and Close. So if I go to my estimate, our customer was Gita. And she wanted an estimate on 2 pumps. And they were $15 each. Okay. So if you are brand new to QBO and you're still kind of working your way around trying to figure it all out, this green button here changes depending on what you're doing and where you are. And there is a little arrow here that I can select other options. So save and send, that's going to be the default to send it to Gita. We're in the sample company, so we actually can't actually send it to her. So what we're going to do is we're just going to save and close. All right, so now we have created the estimate. Now Gita has approved the estimate. She says, yep, I like it. Let's go ahead and buy that. Or I want to go ahead and buy that. Okay, so let's go back to our exercise. We're on step 4. So now we're going to select the estimate tile in the money bar, which is right here. This right here, one estimate. And there's that estimate for Gita. And then step 5, in the action column next to the estimate for Gita, click the arrow and select Convert to Invoice. Okay, so here's the estimate. I'm going to do this little down arrow and click Convert to Invoice. You'll notice that everything was automatically just copied over to the invoice, and then all I have to do is click save and send, or now I have a new option, save and share the link for Gita. All right, but now I'm going to just save and close. All right, and that is our exercise for which we did save and close. So that is the exercise that is from your Pro Advisor Challenge. You can do that at any time, or of course, I've included the links below. All right, so next let's do a very similar exercise, which is in our Fast and Easy Basic Level Certification course. We're going to, in this first exercise, we're just going to create the invoice, and then we're going to do a couple things with that invoice in the later exercises. So here I am. Joel is going to go ahead and put that, if you'll put that next link in the chat so people have it. Also, if you are in the Facebook group, I emailed you all the links for all of these exercises, so you have that. Okay. So again, we're going to start in the sample company, and here's our scenario. Gevelber Photography is considering installing an outdoor background for their photography sessions. They would like an estimate for 10 hours of design work, plus 1 rock fountain, 1 pump, and installation, which you anticipate will take about 3 hours. How would you set this all up? So this is a little bit more complicated than the one we did for Gita. So step 1, we're going to do the alternate method, which is just hit plus new and then click estimate. This note down here just talks about how you could also do this from the sales center, which is what we did in our previous exercise. So here I am. I'm just going to hit plus new and select estimate. Where'd it go? There it is, estimate. All right, well, that's loading. I'm going to go ahead and go to steps 2 and 3. So we're going to complete the estimate using the information from the scenario, and then we're going to click Save and Close. So we have Gevelber Photography. And then let's see, we had 10 hours of custom design. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Try this again. Custom design, 10 hours. All right, so there's our custom design. We've got 1 rock fountain and 1 pump. So we've got a rock fountain. We've got a pump. And then finally, we have our installation of landscaping, which is, we think is going to be 3 hours. So that's what we are quoting her. Installation, we think it's going to be 3 hours. So our total estimate, let's make sure it shows up correct, the same, 1190. Yep. So we're ready to save and close. Of course, we would save and send this to our customer if this were real life, but it's not real life. Okay. All right. I think I saw. Okay. All right. So next so now that we have the estimate, we're going to move on to our next exercise, which is converting the estimate to a purchase order. Now, this is a step that the Pro Advisor Challenge doesn't have included. And this is something that not everybody is going to do. But if you don't have the things that you need in stock to complete the job, then maybe you want to just convert that to a purchase order to get that ordered from the vendor. Now, remember that purchase orders are not posting transactions. So this is not actually going to affect your books. It's just saying, hey, I want to place this order. Later, once you have received the order or actually paid for the order, that's when you're going to put it in the books as an expense. Okay. All right, so first, in order to do this exercise, we have to have done the previous exercise to create the estimate. All right, so let me go to our scenario. So great news. Gevelber Photography liked the price and wants to move forward with installing the background. Create a purchase order to authorize the purchase of 1 pump from Norton Lumber and Building Materials. You already have some rock fountains in stock. All right, so let's see. What does our note say? In a real life scenario, you would need to make sure that purchase orders is turned on. It says that in the sample company, this feature is already turned on. But if you were with me last week, you know that I thought that something was turned on and it wasn't. So let's go ahead and check that. So we're going to go to the account and settings, expenses, and make sure our purchase orders is turned on before we do anything else. Okay, so gear icon, account and settings. Expenses. Yes, and purchase orders is turned on. Whew. All right, good to go. All right, let's close that and get back to our exercise. Okay, oops, not that one. That's the one we did already. Let's go to this one. All right, so we did that. All right, now we're going to find the estimate that we created in the previous exercise, okay? So from the left navigation bar, we're going to select sales, then customers. We're going to click the blue estimates button box to get a list of your estimates. Notice on my picture here, this is a little bit different. They just, like within the last week, changed what this looks like. And I kind of like the old one better. I don't know. What do you think? I saw a little button to provide feedback to Intuit, and I don't know, I was on the fence whether I wanted to tell them that I like the old one better. So yeah, see here it says feedback. But this is I'm in the sample company, so I don't know if this feedback would actually work or not. Anyway, so here we are is our estimate. I'm going to click this one estimate. It looks like I was already on that screen. So anyway, so here we are. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see. Let me look at this. This says it's on the customers. Ooh, let's go to the customers tab. Aha, look at that. They did not change it. Okay, interesting. So here's the customers. It's only changed on the all sales tab. That's very interesting. Why would they do that? I don't know. So let's do customers, one estimate. Here is Gevelber Photography, that one estimate. All right, so that's our instructions there. And then step 3, this presents you with a list of all the customers with open estimates. In our case, there's only one. So we're going to click that one open estimate right here. All right. And then step 4, this would give you a list of all the open estimates for that customer. In our case, there's only one. So we're going to click the estimate to view it. Notice we could create the invoice right here, but we're not going to because I'm going to show you because it's going to be important for a future exercise. All right, so we're going to select the estimate. This is all the estimates for Gevelber Photography. I'm going to open up that actual invoice. Here we are in that, and then step 5. Notice in the upper right-hand corner, it says there is an arrow next to create invoice. Okay, so this, remember there were all of those create invoice buttons before, but we're not creating an invoice. In this exercise, we're creating a purchase order. So the way to get to it is we have to edit the invoice, or I'm sorry, edit the estimate. And then we have this little option right here, which is copy to purchase order. Now, before I do this, I want to point something out. So this is our estimate that we're looking at. This estimate has 10 hours of design work and 3 hours of installation work. These are not products that we're going to purchase from anybody. Okay. So when I copied a purchase order, those two things are not going to come across. Only the items, only the actual inventory items that we're going to purchase will come across. Okay. So here I'm going to click copy to purchase order. This little warning is what I just said. So I'm not going to take the time to read it. Okay. So what came over on the purchase order were the items. But if we go back to read our scenario, it says you already have some rock fountains in stock. So this is only a purchase order for the pump. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. We're going to take off the rock fountain. We already have that. And now I just have a purchase order for the pump. And go back to the exercise here. We were on, so we did that, step 5. Step 6, only the products, not the service items transferred. Yep, we got that error message. Okay. All right, so now we're going to add Norton Building and Lumber as the vendor. We're going to remove the rock fountain. I already did that because as I said, I tend to get ahead of myself. So I need to do better of actually following my own exercises step by step. All right, so, and then we're going to assign Gevelber Photography as the client for the pump. Okay, so let's do that. So we've got Norton right here. Then we have, this is the pump. I already deleted the rock fountain, shame on me. And then our customer is Gevelber Photography. Okay, and then I think I can hit save and close. All right, so that's how you convert an estimate to a purchase order. Remember, the purchase order is not a posting transaction. So here we are, convert an estimate to an invoice. our note is we have to have completed the other exercise first, which we did. And we're in the sample company, of course. And so here's our scenario. All right. The outdoor background for Gevelberg photography is complete. It's now time to send the invoice. So how are we going to do that? Well, you now have seen lots of ways to be able to do that. Well, let's see what these instructions say. These instructions say from the left navigation bar, select sales, then customers, click the blue estimates box. Okay, so customers, blue estimate box. And then we could probably just click this start invoice, right? Let's see if that's what our instructions say, because there's lots of ways to do it. Yes, click start invoice. All right, start invoice. Boom, boom, boom. And let's see, look, we have an estimate that pops up in the drawer for us to add to the invoice. Let's see what the exercise says. So we click start invoice, then step 4, notice that a drawer appears to the right with the details of the estimate. Okay, so we're going to click add and put that in the estimate or in the invoice. Okay, so here's our invoice. What are we adding? We're going to click add right here. And boom, there is all of the stuff from that estimate that we just popped in. Okay, so here's our invoice with all the stuff. Let's see, let's see what our next instructions say to step 5 and 6. Oh, the design ended up only taking 8 hours, so change that from 10, and then click save and close. All right, so you notice that we can change if anything happened in real life, if it didn't work correctly. If it was different than what we initially estimated, then we can just change that for the final invoice. Okay, and then we would hit just save and close. But I'm not going to do that right now because I want to save this estimate for our next exercise. So if you're following along with me, don't hit save. We're just going to close. If you're doing this exercise just on your own and you don't want to do the next exercise, then go ahead and hit save and close. All right. So I'm going to leave without saving because I want to hold on to that estimate. All right. So that was converting an estimate to an invoice. As I mentioned, this whole process of creating estimates and converting them to purchase orders and converting them to invoices, this is all part of the basic level certification course. So if you are still needing that basic level Pro Advisor cert, you want to make sure that you get this under your belt. The next exercise that I'm going to go through is from our advanced course. So it just adds one more layer on top of this whole process. And even if you don't have your basic certification yet, I would encourage you to stick with me because it's really not that hard. Okay. So don't be afraid of it. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do something called partial invoicing or progress invoicing. What we've seen so far is you put out an estimate and the customer says, yay, let's move forward. Then you do the work and then you send them the invoice that was a mirror of that estimate, right? Well, what if it's a really big contract and you want they have to pay in installments. Okay, so if you want, maybe they have to put 50% down in the beginning and then 25% in the middle and then 25% at the end. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take that estimate and you're going to give them an invoice for 50% of it. Then you're going to send another invoice for 25% of it. Then you're going to send another invoice for the final 25%. That's called progress invoicing. You do that in progress of the job. Okay, so that's all it is. And so now that we have that estimate there, we're going to turn that on and you can see how that works. So we're going to start in the sample company. And here's our scenario. Gevelberg Photography has decided to go ahead with their outdoor background. They have agreed to pay half the cost now And then the other half, when the job is complete, it's now time to send out the invoice. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is we have to turn on progress invoicing in account and settings. So that's in the sales tab. So I'm going to go to account and settings. I'm going to go here. Then I'm going to go to the sales tab. Scroll down a little bit. There is progress invoicing. I'm going to turn that on. Okay. Now in the sample company, this is related to a template. So just hit update. Don't worry about it. And then click save and done. So we have turned that on. So now in step 2, we're going to find the estimate. So that's what we did before. We already have found it. We are comfortable with that now. One open estimate right here. Then steps 3 and 4, click Gevelber Photography, then click the estimate to open. And then, so it's basically the same steps as we did before. I could create the invoice right here, but I don't want to. I am going to go in here and select create invoice. So here, when I when I select create invoice, now that I have turned on progress invoicing, I have this extra step. Okay, so I have the option of doing the total of all, just full on like I did in the last before I turned on progress invoicing. Or I can say I want to do 50% of each line, which is what we're going to do. Or I can have a custom amount for each line. But I'm going to say 50%, and I'm going to create the invoice. Okay, and you'll notice here now we have this column that says what's due. So this is 50% of the invoice right here. Okay, so let me go back to my exercise so I don't get ahead of myself. Okay, when asked how much you want to invoice, enter 50%. That's what we did. And then notice that each line of the invoice is now deducted 50%. That's what I just did. And then we're going to click save and close. Okay, so save and close. So that was creating a partial invoice from within the estimate itself. But you can also create a partial invoice from the drawer. So if we do that, same steps, pulling it up, same scenario, okay? Steps 2 and 3, now we're going to create an estimate from, we're going to create an invoice for Gevelber. So plus new, invoice, Gevelber Photography. And this is similar to what we saw before. So from here, I can just click add, and I'm going to get that same, prompt. Okay. So notice that it says remaining total of all the lines because it's keeping track of what you have already invoiced. All right. So that is it for the main things that I wanted to go over today. There is one more exercise that I will, that I was going to go, I was reserving just in case we had time. And it looks like we have time. Is there any questions that on what we have covered so far? Please put that in the chat. I can respond to them. I can't type, but I can talk to you. I can talk to you the way it works in the chat. It's kind of crazy. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Otherwise, I am going to hop over to this other exercise. Now, this exercise is a retired exercise. It used to be part of the, let me just make sure that I'm on the right screen here. It was part of our course last year, but it's not a topic that's in the certification this year, but it's related to all of the stuff that we just did. So I thought it would be good if we had time, and it looks like we have time to go over it. And that is how to convert a purchase order to an expense. So this is what we've done so far. So we did this one. We created an estimate from, or an invoice from the estimate. We created an invoice from the drawer. And so now let's take a look at how we would create an expense from the purchase order. So remember we had an estimate that we sent off to Gevelberg Photography. Okay, Gevelberg Photography said, yes, I want to do it, but I didn't have a pump in stock. So I had to create a purchase order to get that pump from Norton Building. Okay, so Gevelberg Photography said, yes, we're going to go ahead and do it. And so now I need to actually, the purchase order was just authorization to purchase. Now I'm going to actually purchase that pump. So instead of typing everything new, I can just take that purchase order and convert it into an expense. In the same way that I converted estimates to other things, it's really the same. It's the same process. So not on the test this year, but still bonus extra goodies for you. All right, so let's talk about how you do this. So in order to have done this, we have to have created that purchase order from the previous exercise, which we did. And we are going to be in the sample company. And here's our scenario, which I basically just said to you. The pump has arrived. It's now time to pay Norton for it. You'll do this as an expense and attach the purchase order to it. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to click plus new and select expense. Let me go ahead and finish this up. Save and close. This was from our previous exercise. Okay, plus new. And then expense. Okay. Then steps 2 and 3. We're going to enter Norton lumber and building materials. Okay. And note that a drawer with the purchase order appears to the right. Click add. As I mentioned, it's just the same as what we have done before. So I'm going to hit Norton. Okay, and here's our drawer that popped up. Here is the purchase order that I just created. Here is a bill that's kind of outstanding. We're going to ignore that for now. Right now, we're just dealing with this purchase order, and I'm going to add it to the expense. Let me go back to my exercise. Okay, click add and then click save and close. As I said, there's a bill in the drawer. Also, we can ignore that for right now. Notice that that purchase order went and just populated this right down here, and we're good to go. So all we have to do is hit save and close. All right, and that's it, guys. That is it for everything you ever wanted to know about estimates. We have created estimates. We have created purchase orders from that estimate. We have created invoices from that estimate. We have used the full estimate, and we've also done partial parts of the estimate, a portion of the estimate for an invoice. And then as a bonus, we have added a purchase order to an expense, and easy peasy. So it's not that hard. Most of it is on the basic level certification. Just that progress invoicing piece is on the advanced, and the bonus is not on the test anymore. But you should know as much as you want to know, right? Like you should. The more you know. Here's the thing, guys. The more you know, the more valuable you are to your clients, and the more valuable you are to your clients, the more you can charge, the longer they'll stay with you. It's all good. So the more you know. Maybe I should steal that from the TV commercials, right? The QBO, the more you know. All right, that's it for me, guys. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So that'll do it. And I can't wait to hear your success story. See you next week.